Hey YouTube, Common Collector here, and today I am bringing you an update to my Rokket Guard Dragon deck profile. So this is going to be a budget version. I will be doing a full-blown competitive version pretty soon, but I kept finding that, it seems like a lot of people want to be playing this at the budget level, and there are already a few really good budget versions of this deck, so if you guys want to check out like a $100 budget video, go ahead and do that. There's a lot of really good ones out right now, but this is going to be sitting at about a $150 budget. I just wanted to make this one a little bit different for people who are trying to push the deck a little bit further but can't afford all the big stuff like Borrelsword Dragon and all that. But even with Borrelsword and like Appaloosa and stuff like that, those cards are all getting reprinted in the Gold series that's going to be coming up soon. So keep in mind that this deck will even be getting more budget pretty soon, but it's also probably going to be getting hit sometime soon on the ban list. But for the sake of this video, this is sitting at about a $100 budget. So, $150 budget, but it still can do a lot of damage. And I think that adding that extra $50 to get away from like the general $100 budget really helps push this deck over the threshold to be getting a little bit more competitive. And this is the 60 card run, so again, that helps with leaning into that extra $50 that we're playing this as the 60 card in the main deck. That way you can sort of get away from a lot of the bricks that you run in this deck naturally, and it helps you actually keep your deck a lot more consistent because you have all of your starters like the Rokket Tracer and Starliege Cyphered and stuff like that. So you want your combo starters to be showing up in hand, but you also want to be drawing into hand traps as well as not picking up as many of your bricks. So that's why we're running the $150 budget and 60 card list. But anyways, let's get into this. So 3 copies of the Rokket Tracer. It's your best starter for the Rokket engine. It locks you into darks, but basically you destroy 1 card on the field, and then you can special summon a Rokket from your deck. So it just has to be any card, so that's when you can actually destroy your equipped Dragoonity Lance or whatever field spell you have on the field, or really anything that you're feeling like blowing up. Then we have 2 copies of the Rokket Synchron. This is actually a really nice card to have in here because we're running quite a few level 7s, so this actually does help with going into synchro plays for level 8s as well as the Rokket Tracer, because we're also playing a lot of level 4s. But besides that, it's also a decent recovery card if you just have to go into a simple Link 2 monster on your second turn, so that's really, really nice. Going on into 2 copies of the Silver Rokket. He's just a really big boy, he's sitting at 1900 attack, which actually does come up quite a bit, so if you're like sort of late game and you can just special summon 1 monster from, like special summon a Rokket from hand or something, then like this guy can actually help beat over some extra stuff. Then we have 2 copies of the Rokket Recharger. He special summons from deck, so he's actually really nice. Then we have the Auto Rokket Dragon and the Magna Rokket Dragon. Their effects aren't really going to come up that often, but they are actually pretty nice for a little bit of removal if you are able to get them off. And the, I believe it's the Magna Rokket Dragon, when sent to the graveyard from getting destroyed, can actually send a monster from the field to the graveyard. Does not target, does not destroy, so this is actually like a decent option if you can force it to get rid of your opponent's Red Eyes Dark Dragoon and stuff like that. So this is actually a pretty decent option. Then just to round off the Rokket engine, we have 3 copies of the Absa Router Dragon. This is kind of a must, especially if you're playing the budget version, to run 3 of this. Basically, this special summons itself if you have a Rokket on the field, and then also when this hits the graveyard, it adds a Rokket back to the hand. I actually am considering playing 3 of this in my competitive version. I'm not totally sure. A lot of people bump it down to 2, but I really like it sitting at 3. Just because if you are able to get that off, that's really, really nice. And again, he's a level 7, so he synergizes with your Rokket Synchron. Then 3 copies of your Starliege Cypher. This is pretty standard now, and it's so great that this card got reprinted. Basically, I did a budget version of this deck about 5 months ago, and that was back before like Halka Fibrax was getting up to like the $30 mark, as well as back when we had all of the targets for Needle Fiber. And then besides that, we also did not have the Cyphered in the main deck, but now we finally do, so it's really, really nice. But yeah, basically this is your other really good starter. Then going on into our next starter, we have the Black Metal Dragon. This card helps to add a Red Eyes card from your deck to your hand whenever it hits the graveyard. Our next card, of course, is going to be the Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, just because this card is super good for adding another monster onto your board. So you just banish one dragon monster on the field, get this out, bring something back to the field. So it's actually really great late game if you just like top deck like Monster Reborn or something like that to bring it back onto the field, and then you just summon out one of your big like Link 4 monsters back to the field. It's just really, really nice. Then we're playing the one copy of Red Eyes Wyvern. This is just basically in case you draw another copy of your Black Metal Dragon. You know, this would otherwise be your only Red Eyes target in the deck because we're not playing the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon engine, but I really do still like keeping the Wyvern in here. So when this card is sitting in your graveyard, if you didn't normal summon or set this turn, then you can special summon back your Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon during the end phase. So you're not going to be able to use that effect, but it's just nice to get another big 2800 attack monster back on board, as well as like you actually, once you get to the late game, you start getting to the point where you actually don't normal summon that much. You're probably just going to be like top decking like rocket monsters and probably using like your boot sector launch to special summon back stuff, or if you draw into like your World Legacy Guard Dragon stuff. There's just not much normal summons that actually end up going off late in the game, so that card is actually pretty darn good. Then we're going on into 3 copies of the Noctivision Dragon. This card was such a good addition to the deck from Eternity Code. So what this card does is if you special summon a Dark Dragon monster, you special summon this to the field. And then also you can then, when you link this card away for link material, probably for like your Romulus or something, then you get to draw 1 card from your deck. So that's just super nice. Then for our Chaos package, we're of course playing the White Dark and Chaos Levianeer. If you can't afford Chaos Levianeer, you know, it's going to be a little bit tough for this deck. Again, if you guys can't, if you guys are having trouble affording any of these cards, picking them up, you can go ahead and message me in the comments about what else you could replace. But I would say if there's anything in this deck that you want to replace that you just can't afford, I would just try slipping in Called by the Grave. Just that 1 copy of Called by the Grave is going to help to you know, increase the amount of times that your plays actually go through. Then we're going to go on into 1 copy of our Omni Dragon Brotar, just to help with searches. 1 copy of Galactic Spiral Dragon and the Dragon Spirit of White, as well as the World Chalice Guard Dragon. I still really like this package. I had this in my previous builds, and I still really, really like it because if you have the World Chalice Guard Dragon in grave, you can special summon back the Dragon Spirit of White, and White counts as a normal monster in the graveyard. So you can pitch this to the graveyard with your Dragon Shrine and then send another monster, send the World Chalice Guard Dragon, and boom, there you have it. Or if you have your Dragon Shrine or your Dragon's Ravine and you've already kind of gone through this combo, or you've drawn into one of these guys, then you just send the Galactic Spiral Dragon, and basically at any point in your turn, you're going to be able to special summon him back to the field, and then he's just going to be there sitting around for link material or rank 8 plays, whatever you want. Then we have 1 copy of Tempest. This card is just super free in this deck, and again, you can pitch him to the graveyard as well. 1 Dragoonity Phalanx. I am playing the Phalanx in here, but with that $150 budget range, you really do have the room for it in here, and it is just super great for another extender. Then we're going to go on into the hand traps. We're playing 3 copies of the Effect Veiler. This is, in my opinion, probably one of the better hand traps of the format, almost better than Ash Blossom, in my opinion, because if your opponent is going to be trying to get out that Red Eyes Dark Dragoon or whatever their big plays are, then your Effect Veiler is really going to be helping you a lot more compared to like your Ash Blossom in some of those scenarios. You know, the Dogmatica Invoked is probably one of the worst matchups for this, because if they can search and get off that Winda, it's going to be really helpful for them. So that's sort of where I'm tailoring a lot of this, and just squeezing Ash Blossom in here, which is each of those is like $12 a piece. There's just not enough room for them in this deck, so I thought Effect Veiler was just fine for that. Then we're going to go on into 3 copies of the Psy-Frame Gear Gamma, as well as the Driver, obviously. And then 2 copies of Lancia to finish off our monsters for the deck. So the Lancias are just really nice in here for like the Dino matchup, as well as even in the Mirror match, and as well as like Dogmatica. So this really helps to fight up against your bigger, more painful matchups, especially the Dogmatica Invoked, because if your opponent gets that Winda on board, or even like, I believe it's the Caliga that makes it so you can only activate one monster effect per turn, that's just going to really hurt you. So that's why I like having the Lancias in the main deck. So now let's get on into the spells. We have 3 copies of Chaos Space. So Space is really great in here because it helps to pick up all of those 3 Chaos monsters, your Levianeer and the White and Dark Dragons. So with this, you send 1 monster of either Light or Dark, and then you add the opposite attribute from your deck to hand. So basically with like your Artifact Lancia, if that's in your hand, which is a Light attribute, and its effect is no longer applicable, like your opponent isn't going to be banishing stuff, then you just discard the useless card, and then you can pick up the Dark attribute from your hand, so you can pick up like the Collapse Serpent or the Chaos Levianeer, and then it just helps to get your combos off. And then you're going to, as long as you summon one of those cards, you're going to have a Light or Dark monster that is banished, and then you use your Chaos Space again, you banish it from the graveyard, and then you take that banished Light or Dark monster and then put it back into your deck at the bottom of the deck, and then you draw a card. So this card is just really great. It helps to, it's basically a +2, so and you can go +3, I believe, if you have the Collapse Serpent and Wyverbuster full combo, so it's really nice. And then also, obviously, when you go through all of the Wyverbuster into your Striker Dragon and then into your Romulus, you're going to be going like +3, +5. This card is just so good for here. It's only $5 right now, so I really do highly suggest playing this card yet for the budget version. Then we're going to go on into 3 copies of the World Legacy Guard Dragon. Again, if you can't afford like the 3 copies of these, try to like pinch it down to 1 or 2, at least 2 in my opinion. But the World Legacy Guard Dragon, super great for extending. And if you don't have full combo, this is what's going to help you to keep extending with your Guard Dragons. So you just keep moving them, you just move them to a different zone, and then you're going to be able to get off whatever Pisty or LP is going to be trying to search. So it's just super essential for this deck, especially for the budget version, to try to play 3 of them. Then going on into 3 copies of our quick launch, just to help the rocket engine go. Then also our 2 copies of Boot Sector Launch, which is also to really help out the rockets. That's why, and I really enjoy playing the Rokket Dragon at like the full engine. A lot of the competitive builds kind of tone it down, but with the Boot Sector Launch, if you can get off that 2 monster special summon, it's really awesome, and it really helps you to pop off your turn. 2 copies of Dragon Shrine to help get us into that combo with our Dragon Spirit of White and the World Chalice Guard Dragon. Our Dragoonity search cards, so Romulus is going to be searching one of these 2. If you've already drawn into the Lance or you've drawn the Phalanx, then you just pick up the Dragon Ravine. 1 Monster Reborn, and for our final extender, 1 World Legacy Succession. Again, if there's a card in here that you really can't afford, try to slip in the Called by the Grave. It's going to help for most of your, going to help more of your combos to go off, but it's just not super essential for the deck because you can usually play through hand traps pretty well. Going on into the extra deck, we're playing, of course, the 2 copies of Pisty and LP. These cards are just super essential for the deck. There's a little bit of theory going around that like Pisty could end up getting hit on the next ban list, which would be unfortunate, but probably would be accurate. The Guard Dragon Agripane, I can't believe that that was even printed. That card was just absolutely nuts, and it really kind of wrecked the format when it was around. It was a pretty nuts combo. So then we're going on into 2 copies of our Striker Dragon. So Striker Dragon is like your big starter for your Link plays. You get out 1 level 4 or lower dragon monster, and then even if you don't really have many other extenders in hand, but you have like a bunch of dead rockets, then you just summon this, search off your Boot Sector Launch, and then you activate the Sector Launch in your field spell zone, and then it's going to help you to really combo off from there. Otherwise, other than that, it just helps you to add a card to hand, which you can always use for discard fodder later. Then we have the Dragoonity Knight Romulus, very essential for the deck. 1 copy of Hieratic Seal of Heavenly Spheres, Delindrous Dragon, and then the Quad Boral Dragon. I really like having these 2 in here, especially for the budget version, since we're not playing like the Halqifibrax as well as the Dark Dragoon in here. These cards are just really nice, especially late game. If you've already gone through like your main combo with all the Guard Dragons, but you can still get a couple monsters on board, then you can get these out on board, and then it really helps you to go into some big plays. These 2 cards can be linked away to go into your Unchained Abomination. They have no restrictions on staying into dark monsters and whatnot, but the Quad Boral will make it so you can't summon other Link 2 monsters, so you can just take these 2 and go into the Abomination, as well as Abomination, is a dark monster. So if you get locked into darks from your Rokket Tracer, he's going to be really nice to just keep going. Then you have your copy of Saryuja, as well as Borrelode Dragon. If you have Boral Sword, you can switch this out. I really like the Saryuja, especially for the budget version, because you really can't afford to go into too many bricks, but say you draw into your Phalanx, but you do have enough monsters to extend into a, with 4 monsters on board and you can go into Saryuja, then that's actually going to help you to revamp your hand. We have 1 copy of the Draco Berserker. He's actually super cheap now, along with the Borrelode Savage. So these cards here are way cheaper than they used to be, so that's really, really nice for this version. Then just for some simple XZ plays, we have number 38. If you can pop this, get this on board on your first turn, that's going to be really nice to stop your opponent's spells next turn, as well as 1 copy of Dingirsu. We are playing a handful of 8s in the deck, and so these cards aren't always going to be gone into, but these cards are pretty nice. This is really great for getting around cards like Avramax as well as Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. So if you guys have any other problems with the extra deck, here are just a couple other options I put out. If there's a little bit more budget you want to go into, you can always go into the Whelp as well as Trishula. And if you're looking for a higher budget version, you could put in Appaloosa. Appaloosa doesn't totally synergize with the deck because it's not Dark or Dragon, but the Boral Sword Dragon, as I mentioned, does work in here pretty well. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this Rokket Dragonlink deck profile. Let me know what you guys thought about it, and I can definitely do a full budget deck once I get all of the cards and just sort of enough time to finalize how I really want this deck run. Other than that, you guys can always check out full combo, full competitive versions, or if you want to look at more cheaper $100 deck profiles on this, go ahead and check those out as well. Thanks for watching, and also, if you guys are still here, go ahead and check out my giveaway, which ends in 2 days from now on October 15th. At 7 o'clock on my Instagram, we will be doing a drawing, so I'll leave all that information in the description down below. We'll catch you guys next time. Bye.